Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well during this holiday season. Hopefully you're getting ready to open up some presents. I know I sure am. But unfortunately, for some reason, Best Buy is apparently discontinuing their whole thing of physical media, basically DVDs of any kind. So, with that being said, why not just talk about a list of, canceled or unreleased DVDs that never came out? I mean, I've already touched upon the whole subject of DVDs before on my channel many times. But I figured, why not make another one? Because it only makes sense. But regardless of that, we're just going to basically talk about like a small list that I came up with of DVDs that were ultimately canceled or have been unreleased for either unknown reasons or certain copyright reasons or other reasons in general. So we're just going to touch upon them. It's not like a top 10 list or anything. This is just a small short list of stuff that I found the most interesting. There's a whole lot more out there, but I did the best I could with the research that I had and just to see what could possibly be out there. So we'll just go down this list and see what we might find. So the first one that I found a bit interesting was the Muppet Show Season 4. Now, obviously, with the Muppet Show, it was quite a popular, successful show back in the day, of course, spawned the whole Muppet craze and all that stuff. And I, of course, own all 3 seasons of the Muppet Show on DVD, plus pretty much all their entire movies. And surprisingly, they still have yet to release that one show that pretty much bombed. Yeah, nobody remembers that. But anyway, the Muppet Show Season 4 was scheduled to come out. It was supposed to come out in 2010 because it was announced in 2009. But I did the best I could to try and figure out why it was canceled, but there wasn't exactly a really good explanation for it. But my only guess is that maybe the manufacturers just were not interested in releasing another one. Maybe there was not enough sales from this, because there was only 3 seasons, so maybe there wasn't a whole lot of people buying the DVDs. Who knows? Maybe they had some sort of rights conflict with the celebrities that were in it or something like that. Or maybe it's just because since Disney held the rights to the Muppets back then, when they first started buying everything back in the day, maybe they were just not interested, and maybe they would. I don't know. I really don't know what the explanation for it, but it's just a bit of a shame how they, at some sort of convention or whatever it was, they showed the DVD, but they ultimately just canceled it completely. So that's a bit of a shame. So the next one on our list, and I'm very devastated about, this was back, I think, in very late of 2022, where it was announced that this DVD of the new season. This was probably the 3rd time that Beavis and Butthead was being revived, where it was being revived on Paramount Plus. But apparently, this was this DVD of its first season plus the brand new movie of Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe was set for a March 14th, 2023 release, but was ultimately canceled for no reason given.
The fucks.
Yeah, it really fucks.
This really made me upset because I am a hardcore fan of Beavis and Butthead. I have the complete collection, not the complete series, the complete collection box set, and I'm just so upset that it's a perfect combo pack right there. First of all, the first season of a series getting revived for the 3rd time, and another movie. It's it's a match made in heaven right there. But the funny thing is that this was not the first time a Beavis and Butthead DVD got somewhat canceled. There was one DVD titled The History of Beavis and Butthead, where I guess Mike Judge, the creator, was unaware of what certain episodes were on the DVD, so they stopped any of the DVDs getting to future retailers, and apparently that's what makes that particular DVD on the list as one of the most rare DVDs ever released. So I wonder, what certain episodes were on there. I'm assuming there were certain episodes that Mike Judge didn't want because, back in the day, he made some kind of raunchy, controversial cartoons that were a bit, touchy on the subject, and there was, basically the whole history of that, it made news headlines, yada yada, but that's not too important. But what is important right now is that I'm just so upset that Paramount decided to just cancel this entire DVD regardless, because they could have made them more money. So why would they cancel it? It makes absolutely no sense, and I'm really devastated by that. It really makes me upset. So, whatever. Next on our list would be the King Kong Animated Series Volume 3. Now, with Classic Media, they released a whole bunch of Godzilla DVDs here in the US for the first time. Mainly of like some of the more wide-released Godzilla films rather than having it owned by like Columbia or Universal or whatever. This was like stuff like Godzilla Raids Again and Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Terror of Mechagodzilla, you know, all those. But they also released the 3 animated series of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla series. Now, I want to also say that those don't all have the episodes, which I don't ultimately know. Maybe there's like another set of cartoons that are out there that we don't have yet. But supposedly, like, Volume 3 is like very rare and expensive to get, along with all the other volumes, of course, but particularly Volume 3, maybe because there was like a limited quantity of it. But King Kong, or also known as the King Kong Show, that was produced by Rake and Bass, you know, the people who are made for doing the Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman cartoons. Well, apparently they also, did King Kong Escapes, along with Toho, who still had the rights to King Kong to make this movie. But they also, before that, it was based upon this cartoon called the King Kong Animated Series, or the King Kong Show, or whatever. So apparently only 2 volumes of the DVD exist, and I actually happen to own those. But there was plans to be a Volume 3, but since there were not really that many sales of it, which was a bit unfortunate, yeah, poor sales is something that always kills canceled DVDs. Unfortunately, Volume 3 was never released, which, pretty upsetting. So all those episodes that still remain are still in a warehouse somewhere, so we still have yet to get the King Kong Show on DVD, like the complete series on DVD. Who knows, maybe even the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla still has yet to be complete on DVD. We just need to get that and Zone Fighter on DVD here in the US already, because like we've waited long enough. There's like lots of media out there that still hasn't been released on DVD, so hurry up, time's a wasting, you know. Anyway, the next one would be the Tom and Jerry Golden Collection Volume 2. Now, I own Collection Volume 1, and I was really hoping that sometime in the future I would be able to get, Volume 2, but apparently I later realized, oh, it got canceled. So why was that? Well, obviously with older cartoons, back in the day, there was some, controversial things that we didn't realize about back in the day until now. And of course, there was some racist imagery in there, blackface cartoons and all that. That's mainly what Tom and Jerry was known for back then, so it's like, looking back at those cartoons on Volume 1 was like, wow, I can definitely see why I never saw this on TV before, but I remember the cartoon. Basically, Volume 1 of the Golden Collection was like showing off the older Tom and Jerry cartoons in chronological order, like when they were released. Volume 2 is to, do that, but unfortunately it was canceled probably just because of the whole controversy of like, the whole cartoon blackface and all that stuff, which I can understand. But they still released the Tom and Jerry Spotlight Collection, which still had a whole bunch of cartoons and still had the episodes intact, with all the blackface stuff and all that. But regardless of that, it's just still a bit of a shame that the Golden Collection Volume 2 never got released, but then like 3-4 years later, Volume 1 got re-released on Blu-ray. That doesn't make any sense at all, but whatever. Next would be the Mask Animated Series Volume 2. I haven't read anything about it. All I know is that there exists a Volume 1, Season 1 of the DVD, and Season 2 never got released. Maybe because there weren't that many sales and nobody really cared. See, it's just one of those things where it's like, they managed to release the complete series of Beetlejuice on DVD. It was the entire series, so why would they just release a Volume 1 set in hopes that they would get more sales? Just release it in a complete series bundle already. Stop wasting time. And they did the exact same thing with the next one here, Police Academy, the Animated Series Volume 1, and there's never a Volume 2. So it's like, we'll just release a Volume 1 and never expect to ever release a second volume because that makes the most sense. I don't know. Anyway, this is another one that I find kind of irritating with me sometimes. So, obviously, I really like the Netflix series Stranger Things. They managed to release physical copies of Blu-ray and DVDs of Stranger Things 1 right here, which looks like a really cool VHS tape, and the same thing with Stranger Things 2. And I was really waiting the next year once this was released for Stranger Things 3 after that came out, but it never did. And at the same time, Stranger Things 4 still has yet to be released, so we don't know when that'll happen. I read something to the effect that they're working on it, but I guess we'll see. But surprisingly, Netflix or Sony or whoever is in charge of it did manage to release the first 5 seasons of Cobra Kai on DVD. They're doing God's work right there. And at the same time, recently, Disney Plus also released the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian on DVD, or excuse me, Blu-ray, and 4K Ultra. So, really shouldn't... I don't know. But it is kind of interesting the fact that Disney Plus would actually have the thought to release their Disney Plus shows on physical media. I mean, that's kind of interesting. Wouldn't you think that, streaming sites would be the next, big thing? And that's the whole reason why supposedly physical media is like, not becoming a thing anymore? I don't know. But anyway, the other thing that I find kind of interesting is the whole A Day with SpongeBob The Movie. Now, lots of people have said this was like, lost media, maybe it still is, and at the same time, lots of people are also saying that it never existed entirely, which I can definitely see. This definitely looks like the biggest bootleg scam I've ever seen. Now, it's one of those things where it's like, this was on Amazon, and a whole lot of people were all like, it was a documentary that was like set to be released in 2011, but then it never got released. Lots of people were just like, on the internet, were just like appalled by this, being like, oh no, it never got released, it never came out, this is lost media, yada yada. And I think it's just one of those things where it never, existed in the first place, because even the way it looks just looks so bad and like so cheap. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. But I don't even know. It doesn't exactly matter. Supposedly it was canceled because like a crowdfunding effort who marketed it as a mockumentary, and then maybe there was like a lawsuit between Nickelodeon between it or something like that. I'm not entirely sure like what the whole story is with that, but I don't think it really matters. Now, of course, I'm also looking at a couple other ones that are not on my list, but I'm looking at this on the Canceled Movies Fandom Wiki, or whatever you want to call it. And they have like a whole list of like a whole bunch of other direct-to-video movies that were like ultimately canceled. Well, you know how Disney is with their direct-to-video sequels. There's a lot of them that exist. But supposedly there was this other one called Monsters Inc. 2 Lost in Scaradise. Obviously we know that there's a prequel that exists of Monsters Incorporated called Monsters University. But supposedly there was going to be a sequel that was completely canceled with this. And apparently the reason why it was canceled was because in early 2006 it was decided that Disney would be better off owning Pixar altogether rather than just the franchise. As a result, Circle 7 Animation was shut down, thus canceling the film and letting Pixar make a prequel. Well, I guess that makes sense, but at the same time it's like, well, I don't know. See, that's the other thing you have to realize, is that with like companies owning different things or different properties and all that, that's mainly the reason why a lot of things would like be shut down, which is kind of like of how Star Wars 1313 or even Star Wars The Force Unleashed was like ultimately canceled just because Disney bought it. Whatever. And the last one we'll look upon very briefly is supposedly a sequel to Roger Rabbit called Roger Rabbit 2 The Toon Platoon. It would have been like a prequel to that, which seems interesting, but I'll be honest, I don't think Who Framed Roger Rabbit needs a sequel or prequel of any kind. I think it's fine just as a film itself, but with Disney owning it, that they'll probably do something with it. Or whatever, I don't know. Now, the reason why it was canceled was because Steven Spielberg objected to the film's portrayal of Nazis and refused to take part in the project, and Disney lost the licenses to Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera due to the formation of Time Warner at the time. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, a lot of those reasons can, definitely be understandable for why they would be canceled, but it's a bit of a shame. So, yeah. Well, that's basically my whole short video list of like a whole bunch of like canceled or unreleased DVDs. There's a whole lot more out there, I know. If there's any that you guys can think of, let me know. Maybe I'll touch up on this project again. Again, it's just a bit of a shame of how like so many DVDs exist and like they got ultimately canceled. And it's just such a shame of that now we're living in a time where like, digital streaming and all that stuff is just like the big norm now and everything. And the fact that like companies like Best Buy and all these other different places are like giving up on physical media really sucks. I love physical media because I don't have to worry about the internet, like if it ever goes out or if they take it down. I have it right here in the palm of my hand and I can watch it whenever I want, however I want, wherever I want. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope that I'll be able to talk more about DVDs because apparently I'm obsessed with it recently. I don't know why, but who knows. Anyway, see you guys next time.